super. So I just said a little commercial before we start. I want to just let everyone know, you may or may not know, I know JJ knows this because he watches all the shows. He's a big fan. So thank you, JJ, for doing that. This is just let you know that we do have our weekly show called Tech for Senior. It's free. It's a Zoom meeting, and you're more than welcome to come. We're in our third season now. We have 127 shows that we've done. We have a second show we run on Thursday, which is Tech for Senior Live, and we do news. We go over the news. We just taped one of the shows this morning. We do it every week. One of the things I do is we have a service called Tech for Senior Premier Event, and it's where I take all the, 1 year ago, I go and look at the articles that we had on that we did in the show, the videos we did in the show, and I choose 3 of them, and I clubs. So these are, so you may want to have a look at that. JJ can show you where it is. He probably watches some of those, but it's, we chop it up and make it available for you. And these are excellent because it's, they're in small bite-sized 10-minute or 15-minute episodes, and there's 3 a week, and they're on our YouTube channel, and they're free. You can use them, download them, and use them for your club. And some of them are very good, and they're instructional videos on. Huey just did one on a series on podcasting, and it was really very good. So just to let you know that those are all available free of charge, and if you want to know where to go, this is our website, www.techforsenior.com, and the information is there. But I'm sure JJ is a member of your club. He can certainly fill you in on that, and going to belabor that. So I had forgot what the top one, why seniors need condoms. Let me just, the internet seems to be, there we go. I can see there's a screen comes up and says your internet is unstable, which is a bit weird. But anyway, I had produced it 2 years ago, and since I've made a couple of hundred videos, so I can't remember. So it is actually a security talk on different parts of security for seniors, and I thought it was actually well done. It's a good video. So it's not just on USB condoms.
Recording in progress.
Which of course we can talk about. So I thought what we would do is I thought I'd start the video, play it for 20 minutes, stop it, and see if we have any questions, and then we'll finish off with the last half of it. So if that's okay with everyone, you can hear me, everything's fine. I'll just start it, and we'll stop at about 20 minutes from now. And so if you have some questions, write them down, figure it out what you want to ask me, and I'd be happy to do that. So let's, so I'm going to start that now, and we'll start this now.
Sounds good, Ron.
That's good? Okay. Okay. The topic today is preventing scams for seniors. So if we look at the median individual loss to fraud, I'd like you to look at this chart, and you'll see a couple of things. You'll see that in the seniors group, the big one is the plus 80 and over. If you look at the amount of fraud that's lost for the plus 80 group, it's staggering. It's more than double the average. So if you're between 70 and 79, this is the average, but if you are over 80, it more than doubles. So this is a huge problem. Now, if you look at the cost of how much people are getting scammed for, in 2017, it was $36.5 billion. That's not million, that's billion. So we're talking about a lot of money and a lot of problems. So that's why I decided to do this presentation, and it was interesting. Last year, I was doing a presentation at Silver Edge, my home computer club,
and I was coming out of the bathroom, and one of the custodians said, you know, he says, you should do a talk on scamming. He says, because I got scammed this week. And he said, I think that'd be a great idea. And I said, well, okay. And I went home, and within 2 weeks, I had over 100 slides made. It was the information. There's just so much information on this. Now, why are seniors so vulnerable? That's a very interesting question, and one that actually is being addressed. And we'll talk about that in a minute. One of the problems with seniors is they're very trusting. Now, why are seniors so trusting? A couple of large universities looked at the brains of seniors, and they did lots of MRI scans and tried to figure that out, and actually found that the part of the brain that makes you more trusting gets bigger as you get older, and the part of the brain that makes you more inquisitive and more less trusting it gets smaller. And of course, they theorized that this is an adaptive process for seniors as they get older, because you need more help, so you become more trusting. So that is one of the problems of seniors, is they become more trusting as they get older. Also, of course, seniors have more accumulated wealth. Willie Sutton, the bank robber, people asked him once, why do you rob banks? And he said, well, that's where the money is, right? So that's the accumulated wealth is certainly one of the big issues with seniors. That's where the money is. Now, if you look at seniors, you'll see that a lot of problems seniors have is often the primary financial manager is a spouse that has passed away. Usually in relationships or couples, one person is more dominant or looks after the finances, and when that person dies, that really creates a huge problem. This leaves the remaining senior to look after financial planning, which they've never done before and often don't feel confident. We could be dealing with some mental illness. There could be confusion, largely possibly around medication. There could be some memory loss, maybe some dementia, or even progressing on to Alzheimer's disease. Also, seniors have problems with communication, and often this is from poor vision. They have a hard time reading, or on the phone they can't hear very well, so communication becomes difficult. The other problem seniors have is a loss of existing support group. I know my support group that I have, if I want to make some sort of business investment, I have all my friends that I've had for many, many years, and I get together and ask them what they think. But when they're all gone, who do we trust? And there are some major financial decisions that we have to make when we get older, like the sale of one of our biggest assets, which might be the sale of your home. Excuse me. And where are you going into, and will you be going into supportive care? So there's lots of challenges as we reach into our senior years. And so it is important not to try and do this on your own and ask for help. So common scams that we're going to talk about today involve these four areas. We're going to talk first of all about telephone scams. And that's an interesting problem. Now, this is telephone scams are common, and they usually occur often in the morning, and the people on the other end of the phone are often domineering, dogmatic, very authoritarian, and they want you to do something. And oftentimes it could be IRS, it could be your power company, they want an immediate response to some problem that they're creating. It could be a call maybe from your bank. It would be a trusted source that you would normally trust, and they want you to do something. And this can be complicated because for the reasons I mentioned earlier, you may have memory problems. You may have just taken medication. You just got up in the morning, and all of a sudden there's a phone call, and it's your bank, and they want you to do something. So these people are very, very good, and they will often get you to do something that you shouldn't be doing, either giving them information, giving them credit card access, or giving them something, and they will pick your pocket. So phone scams are very common, and you'll typically get these people trying to pose for IRS, phoning you and wanting, and they all wanted immediate resolve to the issue. So so you'll often give out information that you shouldn't. This was interesting. I put this in the presentation because if you look at this couple, the couple on the right side here, he, I think, is a senior, just probably turned 65. His wife's younger. And it was interesting because they look pretty normal people. And they got, this is an SRP problem. He got a call, no, Annette, his wife got a call from SRP saying that she hadn't paid the bill and that they were immediately going to cut off the power that day, and that the bill had to be paid immediately with prepaid debit cards, and that would all as they were going to take. So she actually went and purchased a bunch of, it was several $1,000s worth of prepaid debit cards, came home, phoned the number, and gave the card numbers. Now, at the end of the day, she looked back on this and thought, how dumb could I have been? You know, this is just ridiculous that SRP would call me and demand this sort of thing. But in the heat, these people are very good. In the heat of the moment, it's sometimes hard to see really what's happening. So one of the primary defenses for seniors in telephone scams is the answering machine. And I would, if you look up here, I hope no one has ever seen the one on the left-hand side. This is certainly one of the first answering machines that we had. Hopefully no one has one of these. When I go out to see people in their homes, they often have the one in the middle here. And this has the old micro cassette.
I'm on mute.
I still see a lot of these around because they never break down and they always keep working. These should probably be taken out and thrown away. If you have one of these, get rid of it. Most of the modern answering machines are around 20 bucks, and it would be a digital one. And this is the one on the right-hand side here. And my encouragement, if you are a senior, you're over 80 and you're thinking about, is get an answering machine and have your messages go right to an answering machine. Now, if you have, there are phones like this. This is about $30. You'll see it has great big huge numbers and a big screen so you can see it. This is a little more expensive, but this has an answering machine in it. This is my answering machine. I have a little more complicated one. This is from Costco. It's around $100. And this actually has Bluetooth capability, so my cell phones actually connect to this answering machine, and it works through my, so when I come in, whether my wife or I come in, it automatically connects our cell phones to the portable system in our house. So that sort of works well. A little more complicated, but that is available as well. Because scammers don't leave messages. That's the big issue here. When my mother-in-law was in her probably mid-80s, we would always be calling her, and all we'd get was an answering machine. And you know, she said, I just don't feel comfortable talking to people that phone me because I just don't think I could tell if someone was scamming me or not. So she very smart lady, she purchased an answering machine. So scammers don't leave messages. So if you set that up and that's your primary way in which you answer the phone is on the machine, then that'll work out for you. Now I have, as most of you know, I'm a retired physician. I spent my whole life phoning people back at the end of the day. Usually it was about an hour of my time, and I only ever got about 10% of people in my whole life when I would call back in the evening. 90% went to answering machines. So I have a bit of a bone to pick for people who use answering machines. So please set up the answering machine so that it rings after 3 or 5 rings. By default, most answering machines leave it to, it goes on for quite a long time before it gets picked up. But there's always an option on an answering machine to set it for either pick up after 3 rings or 5 rings. If you have mobility issues, give yourself maybe 5 rings. If you don't, give yourself 3 rings. But don't leave it on the default, which is forever, because someone coming in your doctor's office trying to leave you a message, it will ring and ring and ring and ring before the answering machine picks up. And leave a message. We want to limit the personal information, but when we call a number, we really want to know that it's you. So you could say, this is Diana. You just say, this is Diana, leave a message after the tone or something like that. But don't give out a lot of personal information, but we just like to know that it is you. Check call forwarding from other numbers and always test the other number. Now, voicemail. If you're going to use your cell phone instead of an answering machine, maybe you don't even have a landline, and you're going to use voicemail. Good. This will work well. But I'm going to tell you, in all the people I've seen that have voicemails and all the teaching I've done, probably 5% of people actually know how to use voicemail. So if you're going to use it, please know how it works. That's one of the important things is, and we need you to check it daily to find out if there's important messages. Again, you can forward it to your home, and also with your cell phone. And there's a really good spam identification and a lot of new features that are coming to cell phones in preventing spam calling. So there's a lot of features so this can actually work in your favor by using your voicemail on your cell phone. Those of you who have services like MagicJack, this is my MagicJack account. There's an option in the MagicJack account called automated call screening. And when you click on this and turn this on, what happens is if you phone me on my MagicJack phone number, it will say, please press 4 to be connected to me. And it will tell you, and those numbers rotate. So this prevents the automated dialing system phoning because they won't know how to interpret that number. So if you phone me on my number, my MagicJack number, you'll have to push 4 or 2 or 1 a number to get connected. And this really, I just don't get any spam calls on my MagicJack. Turn on call ID because your family and loved ones will want to call you. And so if you see that they are calling you, you can see their picture and it identifies who they are, then you can pick up. So not all calls have to go to the answering machine. Certainly your loved ones can call you, but other calls can simply go to the machine. In-person scams, this isn't as common as it used to be. This was an Arizona couple that a fella showed up from the Department of Treasury and scammed these people out of a lot of money. So you have to be very careful who shows up at your house and make sure that there's proper identification. And my advice would be is that they should come and make an appointment if they do indeed need to talk to you. And also you should probably have somebody there with you if they're coming to do some sort of business with you. Let's talk about post office, online gambling. Now, if you look at the fraud if you look at over 60 fraud by category, you'll find indeed that the most fraud that's done to seniors is in tech support. And we all, you've all had the Microsoft scams and all that sort of stuff. And clearly tech support scams are the ones that are the most frequent and get the most money. But I wanted to come down and look at something that's often overlooked. And these are the prizes, sweepstakes, and lotteries. And I wanted to tell you a sad story about a good friend of mine. His first name was Sam, and he was a surgeon. He came to our community when he was about 50 years old, and we became good friends. He was a pilot. He was a very successful surgeon, and he became a good friend of mine. In fact, bought a house 2 doors down from where I live. Unfortunately, after retirement, his wife died, and Sam became sort of an introvert. And I was his patient, or I was his physician, but he didn't often show up very often. And his family got concerned about finances after a while, but he had lots of money. They couldn't figure out where it was going. And he was subscribing to over 100 sweepstakes a day. In fact, one of the things when we sort of figured this all out, they had his mail diverted to my house, and I would check it before sending it over to his house. And he had so much mail that the mail truck had to deliver it. It wasn't. We still have home delivery here, and the mail truck actually had to deliver it, and it was a huge sack of mail. And he was filling these in by the hundreds each day. And this is a sort of dementia. One of the things we see in dementia, and so it was a really big problem. So it wasn't obvious, and he had never gambled or had any gambling problems in his whole life. So this is obviously a form of mental illness. And if you are looking after people, it is important that if you think there's some history of financial problems, then always remember about lotteries and scams. Now, this is an interesting one. This is romance scams. Now, you may laugh at this. Romance scams are elaborate, but many have been deceived. Now, I've been married for 45 years. There wasn't even internet or computers when we first started dating my wife. Now, fast forward to where we are in 2020, probably over 50 or 60% of relationships now are started on online dating. And this is particularly common with seniors because this is seniors often have lost one of their partners and are lonely. Now, there's nothing wrong with this as long as you choose the proper format to do this. This is a lady, however, who had some big problems. She met a fellow online. It was a successful relationship. She went down to see him. He was Mexican and he lived in Mexico. She went down to see him, and to make a long story short, the relationship was great, and they decided to get married. He was going to come back to see her family. On the way back to the airport in Mexico, he got a call and said to her, "Gee whiz, one of my businesses is having problems. I'll meet you in San Diego tomorrow." And she said, "Okay." And so he said, "You can continue on with your flight today." And she said, "Fine." He said, "Oh, by the way, would you mind taking my suitcase so I don't have to carry it the next day?" And she said, "Not a problem." So she got on the plane, and as she arrived at San Diego, her bags were searched, and of course the bag she had, which was his bag, was full of cocaine, or heroin. Actually, it was heroin. So she spent the next 6 years of her life trying to get her name cleared. This was an Arizona man who got scammed for $7,000. Again, developed a relationship online, and when they were going to get together in Europe someplace, and he sent her the money for the ticket, and of course she never showed up. This was an interesting one. This again was an Oregon person. An 80-year-old widower lost his life savings to a swindler who posed as a woman in love with him and convinced him to spend a whopping $200,000 to ship a massive lion sculpture from China. She said this would be, anyway, so he lost a lot of money on that one. So we have to really be careful. This is well, just listen to this.
Morning, an alert coming from the Arizona Attorney General's office saying that scammers are using Valentine's Day to cash in on unsuspecting people who are looking for love.
And as we on your side, Susan Campbell found out there's a new twist on the old romance scam that we've all been warned about. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. People lose more money to romance scams than any other type of scam. The Federal Trade Commission says the median loss is $2,600. And now scammers are scouring new sites for their victims. The flowers, the chocolate, The bad guys?
Crooks will use every opportunity they can, every holiday they can, and this is the time of year, it's Valentine's Day.
How common are romance scams?
You know, we see them, and we've seen an uptick in them.
Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich says romance scams often start on social media or dating websites. Some common cons: your new love interest needs money for a flight to meet you, for an expensive surgery, or even to pay off gambling debts.
You got to be wary of anyone you meet online. You know, make sure if anyone is trying to like move you to like a separate chat or try to isolate you from your friends or family, or says, hey, don't talk to anyone about our relationship, those are huge red flags.
And now there's a new twist to the old romance scam. According to fraud.org, scammers are scouring sugar daddy websites to find their victims. These sites often promise users companionship in exchange for financial support.
They will pretend to be a sugar daddy or a sugar mama, and they'll promise like to pay someone's tuition or credit card bills. That person, that college student, then will provide them all this information, and then basically they get ripped off.
These scammers that are targeting Arizonans, are they in Arizona or are they somewhere else?
We do see a lot of these transactions where someone's asking you to send money, that they are overseas, and so that makes it more difficult. But there are instances where they're, you know, right here in our backyard, and, you know, we're going to go after them.
Fraud.org says the number of complaints related to sugar daddy scams soared 250% last year. So we talk about it all the time. People are falling for these because these scammers are convincing.
They're good at what they do.
They make you believe you are in love with this person that you've never met.
It's so cruel to take advantage of somebody who's emotionally vulnerable.
Absolutely.
So Americans lost 201 million in online romance scams last year. So again, and it's going up substantially each year. Again, just be wary. They often, these relationships, they often claim to be professionals. They're often deployed in the military. They're working on an oil rig, or they're a doctor embedded with international groups. They insist on anonymous money transfers, and they have a fast-moving relationship. They want things to move ahead a lot faster than you're usually comfortable with.
Okay, any questions? We're getting to the condoms. I promise we're getting to the condoms coming up. But does anyone have any questions on what we've talked about so far? Does it make sense?
It's not a question, Ron, but it's an observation. On my answering machine, I have some people say a rather lengthy outgoing message, and it's to me, I think part of the turnoff on automatic, you know, called speed dialing of calling for spam and stuff like that, that there's a length that they will accept on a outgoing message before they realize they're not going to get anywhere. And so I can see where it comes through 2/3 of the length of my message, and then they'll hang up. And the reason I know I got these calls is because I have caller ID on the phone. And so I can go away for a week or two, and I have too many messages left on my phone, you know, on my answering machine, and there's probably 30, you know, people who have tried to call me, and all either anonymous or don't know or all around the country. So sometimes a not so short message, I don't know what to suggest, if it's 15 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever, their calls will automatically stop trying.
Now, it's interesting. You know, I'd be interested to know if people have found a decrease in spam calling in the last couple of months. There was I can't remember when it started. I think it was a couple of months ago, but there was some really big new federal communication laws that came in, and the mobile services such as T-Mobile, Verizon, are all part of this, and they have to authenticate the traffic, the voice coming. They have to authenticate where it's coming from. And this is supposed to have stopped a huge amount of international spam traffic. It's not in Canada yet, but it has been applied now. And I was wondering if you've seen a reduction in your spam calls. I mean, I get them all day long right here. Are you guys seeing any less?
I see less calls. Not that I got that many, because I often don't have my cell on, to get it, but I see less on cell calls now, and the number of calls on my landline has, I guess I could say, has dropped 10 to 15%.
Okay, that's good. Any other questions, or we'll get going? We'll continue playing this. Does anyone have any questions so far about what we're talking about? Okay, let's continue on. Just a minute, I gotta find our spot again. Yeah. Okay.
But really what most of these people want is personal data. And we've talked, and I have a whole program on identity theft, but what they really want is your personal data to complete the identity theft. Be very wary of emails that you have like this that come from something called a reward program, or something where you're going to get something for free. And once you click on the claim reward, you'll be asked for some personal information to claim your reward, but you've never really submitted anything. You have no idea why you're getting this, but you think you might get something for free. Well, there is nothing in the world for free. So stay away from that sort of thing. Also, your social insurance number is really the thing that people want. You should never, ever, ever give that out on internet. Again, be wary of companies like Microsoft or Apple calling you and telling you there's something wrong with your computer. Your computer is not monitored by anybody. None of these services continually monitor your computer. So if you get a call saying we've identified a virus on your system, hang up. Be careful of if you're looking for apartment rentals and you drive by and you see a sign like this. This is a frequent scam where you phone up, it's a hot market, and you put your money down for the rental and find out that there is indeed no rental there. And again, be aware of online shopping. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, this is really interesting. This is available, and I'll show you the website in a minute. This is through the Better Business Bureau. And what you're looking at here, you'll see Chandler, and all the yellow dots are where the scams occurred and how many people got scammed. So you can actually, I'll give you the link in a minute, and you can actually bring this up. This is about 6 months old now, so it's probably changed. But you can actually see in your area where the scams have occurred. And this is the site. It's bbb.org/scam-tracker/US. And I'll show you that a little bit later. But this is, and you can see where all the scams have occurred. Now, one of the interesting things was this was a scam that occurred about 6 months ago. This was a lady who was looking to renew her driving license. And she was new to the town, to Mesa, and didn't know where to go. So she did a Google search, and she came up with this website called servicearea.com. Now, this looks pretty innocuous. In other words, and it's got actually on the site here, it's got descriptions of where you can go to find the services that you need. And there's nothing wrong with that, except when you click on any of these links, it's a service, so they want you to pay. And it's the service is $9.95 a month. So she was in a hurry and thought, well, for $9.95, I'll just pay it. She put her credit card in, and of course it took her to the driver renewal site where she could get her driver's license renewed, which of course was free. She could have got that anyway, but she did go and she got her driver's license renewed. The problem is that she never checked her credit card statements, and each month for the next year, she got charged $9.95 for that service. So again, be very wary of things, particularly when you're putting your credit card out there. Again, if the other thing we like to tell everyone, if you get scammed, please, this is the federal FBI complaint you can lodge, file a complaint. If you have the impression that, gee whiz, I was dumb, I shouldn't have done that, and you never file a complaint, then the problem keeps resurfacing. So if you now we're going to talk a little bit about shopping scams, and there are a number of things that you have to think about here. Look for .club or .top instead of .com. There are, we'll show you in a minute how to look at the URL on a website. Oftentimes these are, that's a clue to fraud. If you have to pay by bank transfer or money order, they don't take recognized credit cards, then be very wary. If the prices are far too low, if this is a smoking hot deal, you're getting a $1,000 camera for $150, be really leery. If it's too good, it's probably a scam. And if they don't accept credit cards or PayPal, then pass on the deal. I want to talk a little bit about PayPal, and I'm just going to play a video for you now on this. Everybody should have a PayPal, and this is a big protection against online.
Hi, Drew Angel here with an introduction to PayPal. Today we're just going to take a quick look at a simple question. What exactly is PayPal and how does it work? And the easy answer is it's a way to send and receive payments. There's a little bit more than that going on. You got your buyers and your sellers involved, or senders and receivers. Let's take a closer look, give you a little bit better knowledge on what exactly there is happening here, and see how it might help you out. So first you have the buyer side. When you want to make payments with PayPal, of course the first thing you'll do is to create your PayPal account, and you'll treat it like a wallet. This is your digital wallet or your PayPal wallet. Just like a regular wallet, you can hold cash in there in the form of a PayPal balance. You can have your debit card and credit cards in there from various banks or credit card providers. You can have multiple bank accounts, so checking accounts or savings accounts from a local branch or from online banks. You can add all of these into that PayPal wallet, and when you make payments, you can choose whichever funding source you'd like to use. So again, your PayPal balance would be your cash, or bank accounts could also be kind of considered cash, and then you've got your credit and debit cards. The cool thing is, when you make payments with PayPal, all those funding sources are protected inside that PayPal wallet. So the seller, all they're going to get is your name, your email address, and a shipping address if it's required, if they need to send you something. So that sensitive information, like the bank account numbers, credit card numbers, and expiration dates, and security codes, the actual billing address associated with these funding sources, that's all protected behind the PayPal barrier or inside your PayPal wallet. So consider, if you go shopping on 20 different websites and you put in a credit card number in each of these 20 sites, well, that's 20 different chances that they could be saving your card number in their database. They're not supposed to be doing that, but a lot of them do. And if they get hacked and that data gets stolen, now your credit card numbers or bank account information is included in that hacked data. Obviously, this isn't a good thing. And again, when you pay with PayPal, none of that information is provided to the seller. All they're going to get is your name, email, and shipping address. So it protects you. You have this buyer protection behind that PayPal barrier. This is one of the biggest advantages of using PayPal.
Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is staying protected while you're traveling. If you're traveling, beware of public Wi-Fi. I think you're all, we've talked about this before, but if you're traveling and you're going to use public Wi-Fi, then you should use what we call a VPN. A VPN is software that you can put on your mobile device, and when you are in a different country or you're traveling, it will protect you. VPNs hide your IP address, they hide your social media identity, they keep your location hidden, they don't give away your shopping habits, and they protect your personal data. So if you are going to use public Wi-Fi in your travels, please use a VPN. The other thing that you need to know, and a lot of seniors don't know this, how to switch between cellular data and Wi-Fi data. Wi-Fi data, as we mentioned earlier, is not secure, but your cellular data is. So if you are going to do banking, you need to turn off Wi-Fi and make sure your phone is connected to the cellular data. If it's connected to cellular data, it's encrypted. It's an encrypted private network, and it is as safe as you can get. So if you want to do your personal banking, use the cellular data part of your plan, not Wi-Fi, and you'll be fine. Now, many of you, when you travel, you need to charge your device in airports. And what you're going to be seeing, and you see this more and more, in fact, they just installed in our airport a public charging port. And you'll often see stands like this where everybody's plugging all their devices into these charging ports. And this is really bad news. In fact, when I was in New Zealand, in Auckland, they had one of these, and there must have been 400 or 500 people that had plugged their phones into this massive charging port. The problem is these charging ports are bidirectional, and it basically you're connecting onto a network without any security, so that anyone that's plugged in here will be able to see your hard drive and download any malware onto your device. So this is a very dangerous situation. And of course, I always like to say, when you travel, make sure you take your condoms. And on the right-hand side here, this is what we call a USB condom. And this is made by a company called PortaPal. You can buy a pack of 2 of these for $10 on Amazon. And what these are is these are a data blocker. So this allows only the passage of power into your machine. It doesn't allow any data to be transferred into your machine. So if you really wanted to use a public charging station, you would plug this into the charging station and then plug your device into the USB here. And this only allows for energy to come into your computer. It doesn't allow for any data to be used. It's a data blocker. And this is these work very well. But you know, most people carry extra batteries with them when they travel. So, but stay away, please, from public charging systems. The other thing that you have to be careful of is when you rent a car. All the new cars now have Android Auto. They're common now. And when you get into the car, your phone automatically connects to the car through Bluetooth. This creates a problem because, of course, it uploads all the data off your phone, particularly all your contacts, into the car system. Now, after you finish with your car rental and you're taking it back, what happens, of course, is all your information is stored in the car's memory. So you need to make sure that there's usually a software option in the car to delete all the data. And you want to make sure that is deleted before you take the car back. Now, it's also important to know the difference between a debit card and a credit card. A debit card is issued usually by your bank. There's no contractual obligation with you. It's simply a way in which you can get your money out of the bank electronically. So if you have $100 in your bank, you would be able to use a debit card to get $100 out. There's no credit checks. It has nothing to do with a credit card. The problem is if you use that card and it gets compromised, the banks will not give you your money back. There's no security associated with a debit card. So if you get scammed, the money's gone. Whereas a credit card is different. A credit card is a contractual obligation with the company. You sign the form, you get a credit check, and there's a contract. Now in the contract, everything goes towards the, of course, the credit card company, except for one thing, and that is fraud protection. And so that's the thing that you will, of course, so fraud protection in credit cards is very important. So some of the things that we don't want you to use your debit card for, please do not use debit cards for filling up your gas at a gas station. Credit card skimmers are common, really common. And when you put your debit card into a gas station, if it's there's a skimmer that's being added to that, they'll get your PIN number and your debit card number, and boom, the money will get sucked out of your bank account very quickly. Again, be very careful with online purchases. Do not use it on any internet purchases, and for sure when you are purchasing things at a store, or also travel to different parts of the world, whether it's airline tickets, cruise tickets, all these sort of things, you should not use a debit card. You should use a credit card because the fraud protection is there, and you won't lose your money. If you go and you look down at Fry's, of course, you know I live in Mesa, and my favorite Fry's store is just a couple of blocks from where you hold your computer meetings. When you go in, you'll see that you'll find big, this is taken in Fry's, you'll see these are prepaid debit Visa cards. These actually work quite well. They're, for those of you who don't have credit cards, you want to do some online purchasing around Christmas, you're worried, you might be quite worried about using any sort of device for online purchases. These work very well. There is a cost. The cost isn't that much. They're usually about $1.95 to purchase. When you go through the checkout, the checkout teller will just ask how much you want to put on these cards. They're completely anonymous. There's no personal information on there. You put the information on the card and you can use it just like a credit card. The only issue is that they take a percentage, usually 1 or 2% per month. So if you're going to use these, it's best if you load them up, use them for 3 or 4 months, and then make sure you don't carry a balance. You wouldn't want to leave your money on these cards for 2 or 3 years, because you'll find that the amount would go down quite substantially. But these actually work very well for people on a short-term basis. All right.
Okay, so that's the presentation. Do we have any questions? I'm open to any questions you have.